I have, I left it, look at, usually I have like all these notes. Do you want to see what I have here? I left it all blank. Like I felt like this is just going to unravel so beautifully because even when we
Oh,
just have the messages, I was like, I fucking can't wait to talk to her. So
I
I
feel
have like no plan, because I know it's just going to go to like the most beautiful places. So just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us. I am interested in like the birth of your brand and how that came to be because I
yeah.
would personally like to know that, and then
Yeah.
we'll see where the combo takes us.
Okay. Well, I'm Madelynne McReynolds. I'm Glow Grow Babe, and I do the work that I do because I truly feel energetically called to do it. So I'm a coach and a mentor working through energetics, personal power, confidence on a true, authentic level where you're working with all of the signaling that you get in your body and you're using it for greater wisdom and having a true knowing of yourself. And how I got into this work, it's a wild story. So I'm a multifaceted, multi-passionate woman. I am someone who looks at something that's exciting to me and I'm like, how can I like do that and be a part of that? So to take you back a little bit, I'm a hairstylist at first by trade. I've been a stylist and makeup artist since 2014 and I still do that to this day, completely freelance. So freaking blessed. And I got a part of social media marketing back in 2015, but not in coaching, through direct sales. And with direct sales, it led me into this beautiful world of self development that I'd never even heard of before. So, diving in, you see all these incredible women who are using their wisdom, their voice to share and make an impact. And I'm like, I am taking all of this in. It is so good. It is so beautiful. And one day it clicked for me where I'm like, why don't I have this kind of freedom with the way I express myself and monetize on my passion, which is filling into people and helping them feel so confident and vibrant who they are? Like that comes back to the core of really all of the areas that I've dabbled in into the season of I am now. It's like, how can I stretch my capacity to touch people in ways that maybe I wouldn't have been able to have contact with if it was for me staying in the boxes that I did. So, taking you back a little bit, I am doing self development, listening to podcasts. A huge inspiration of mine. I'm sure you've heard of her as Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zinkina. And I'm listening to her podcast, all in her self development. And she's talking about her coaching programs. And what really attracted me to the women in the coaching business is the freedom they had within what they could do. There was no restraints on them. There was no, you can say this, you can't say this, you can offer this, you can put it at this price. It was so much freedom of expression, which is stunningly beautiful. Like all of the women who are in this field just doing whatever the heck their heart says yes to. I was like, holy crap, like I want to be a part of this because I don't see any other way forward besides just jumping into something that feels unknown to me, but also feels so freaking familiar. Does that make sense? So, as I'm going through one of her podcasts, I come across human design. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I got to see all of the pieces of me in one like bowl and got to see every little thing for all that it was. And like true compassion activated to where I got to see myself in ways that I thought were like shameful, I thought were too much, I thought were out of place, out of line. And it was exactly how I was meant to see myself and operate. And that sense of freedom and power in who I am became just like everyone must know what power they hold. And I think it was that click where I'm like, this is the work that I'm meant to do. So I made a post this morning because it's so funny. Today is 1 year since I launched my podcast. And I launched it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I launched it solely out of a space of just like, I needed a sense of creative freedom. I needed that creative freedom. I wanted something of my own. Being in the direct sales business that I was for so many years, I loved it, but it wasn't my own, and I was ready to really step into what was for me. And so I started my podcast on a whim, and it has now turned into like really, I feel like that was the vehicle. That was the first jump that I made of like my own personal brand for myself. And I know me and you connected. I heard one of your podcasts about the quantum leap that failed. I think it was. Is that the one?
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I feel it. Girl, I'm in it. So I launched my podcast September of last year. And my like energetic business was totally my side chick that I like kept hidden away in the sides. I'm like, this is just for me. I'm not ready to show this off yet. It's just a little hobby, but like inside, I'm like, I would love to do this kind of thing all the time, always, but she was my side chick. And I took this past March, I took the March of Me. So Glow Grow Babe has been my brand name since the podcast has came about. We titled it Glowing and Growing, and now we've totally like synced her up as all one thing, and it's beautiful. But when I hit March of this year, I really felt the tug to just pull away from the hustle of life and just be present. There was a lot of emotions I needed to work through, a lot of anxiety I was feeling and pressure in life that I needed just to be still. So during the month of March, I sat really still. Come April, I'm like, I am ready to launch a digital product for myself. Like, it's time to stop holding me back and leaving all these things in my journal and start expressing them. So in April, for my birthday to myself, I created a digital product for self-development. It's called The Power of Me, and it's so beautiful. I love it. It's amazing. It's a guided e-workbook where you take yourself through shadow and light work and really integrate who you are and see all of the things for yourself. And it's a beautiful map. But it was the quantum leap that failed in April, but in a way that was so pretty and needed. And this is where I really felt you with what you were saying is like, come April, I put the thing out, my beauty that I'd spent all this time in. And then I made this shift of like, oh, I'm this woman now. I'm this thing. I'm in this space. I'm enveloping it. But I was still holding on to an environment that I didn't fit into anymore. I was still holding on to pieces of myself that really weren't in true alignment with what my soul needed for the growth. And I think the reason I felt like a friction or a comeback from that leap, like we were talking about, was I still needed to do some work on some things. And then come 2 months ago, it was like the full leap felt completely activated once I took the nudges that our spirit knows is there, but we ignore, right? Once I actually swallowed those nudges and said, okay, is really when the shift was made. So that is up until the present. That is where we are now.
You're such a dynamic speaker. Like, there's so much like life pulsing through you.
Thank you.
I'm like captivated just listening
Thank
to you
you.
talk. And what color are your eyes?
They're hazel green.
Oh, yeah. I have green eyes too. And you know that that's rare.
Is it? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't. Someone told me that. It's like less than 2% of the population or something has green eyes. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
I didn't
And
know.
what's your astrology sign?
I'm a Aries sun sign, Cancer moon, and Gemini rising. So I'm sure you feel a lot of the Aries. She comes out a little big sometimes. Like, I had to tell myself before we started, like, slow down, take your time, because I just get a little fiery and I can't help myself.
I love it. I love like fiery, driven, hot women. Like, it's just my vibe. I feel like it's like the soul tribe that they talk about. Like, I feel like I'm home here.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to ask for permission to be the expressive person that you are.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
what's your human design? What are you? I got my
I am.
chart because I get asked
You
questions
have
and I
yours?
don't. Yeah, but look at all my notes. Like,
I love it. I'm a 3/5 manifesting generator.
okay. I don't know what the 3-5 means, but I'm also a manifesting generator.
You are. So it's
Yeah.
that activation of the throat and the go, 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 which is
Yeah.
probably why we were like, I see you, I get you.
Yeah.
And it was like that video was like absolutely manifesting generator, just following it out. It was
When
so
you
beautiful.
said like you're multi-hyper passionate, right? And I was like, I bet you
Mhm.
she's a Manny Gen because I know that's one of our traits. And I used to get like shamed, right? Because we're like, you don't finish
Totally.
anything, you're into too many
Totally.
things, you take it too fast, right? And there's something when you were talking about, and I felt the same way. I haven't studied human design. I just know kind of little bits and pieces, but like it gave me this permission of like, you're this way on purpose.
Because
And
I can guarantee you, the work that I do today, the wisdom that I've gained over all the things that I have claimed of interest have absolutely equipped my tool belt for today. And it is all used. All of it is useful, you know?
yes. But when you look at, like, I feel like it's kind of like a divine blueprint, right? Like, I feel like astrology can give us insight.
Absolutely.
The human
Yeah.
design can give us insight. And then I felt it as like this permission slip of like, you were made this way on purpose. And
Yeah.
here, not just that, but here's how to utilize how you were
Mhm.
made. I think like that was the missing piece. It was like, obviously I am this way, multifaceted, like hyper focused, right? But it was like, when you look from a human design perspective, it actually like gives you the outline of like how to utilize your gifting.
Absolutely. And just going on the sense of like being multi-passion, we absolutely come into things where we're like, man, I should not have said yes to this.
Right?
It happens. Like we ain't all getting our sacral listening right all the time, you know? And it's also depending on what centers you have open in your chart, you may have misinformation coming through that you're just saying yes to, but that's a whole nother
Ooh.
talk. But also applying bumpers in your life where you know you're going to hit a little bit and you can kind of give yourself the bumper room where you know you're going to show up, you know, like we know that we're going to be multifaceted and sometimes in spikes of excitement we can dabble in a lot of things and want to get a lot of things going because we have that fuel and everything looks so pretty and shiny. But then we can also set those bumpers in ourselves where it's like, hey, if that didn't go all right and it didn't turn out like I wanted to, no big deal. Like,
Right.
no big deal. Yeah.
How do you like like wove human design and manifestation?
Yeah. So I believe that our human design is when you follow that, it's like an instrument. And when you have an instrument that's out of tune, it's not going to play its beautiful sound. When you have an instrument that you're using that is in tune, it's going to put off a beautiful melody and it's going to vibe just right. And if we know that everything that is energetic is a frequency and our manifestations, our desires are in a frequency, when we ourselves are operating at our prime frequency, we are then able to tap into those authentic levels of our manifestation that we desire. And also, how do we do that? You know, is that because that truly looks different for everybody in a physical sense, although the energetics can look the same, you know?
Yeah. So
Does that
when
make
you
sense?
kind of, because I haven't studied human design, but like when you take like a client that comes to you, do you read their chart? And then how do you enter, like looking at, because you've got the numbers and the opens and the closes and
Mm-hmm.
all that, like how does that inform, right? Because manifestation, the process is kind of the same for everybody, like the steps
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take like a projector? How would you shift and help them to manifest versus like a mani gen or a reflector, or like
Yeah.
how does it
So
differ?
what is your Manny Gen, right?
Yeah.
So let's just take a moment and talk Manny Gen for a little bit. Do you have any open centers in your chart?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Do you have okay, so an open center is gonna be one totally sorry about that. An open center is going to be totally white, a defined center. These are all the shapes. There's 9 centers in your human design body graph, and some of them are colored in, maybe all of them are colored for you, and some may be white.
Yeah, I have white. One, two, three,
Okay.
four, five.
Your
Five are
white
white.
centers are going to be undefined and open. These are areas where you're going to be taking in energy from your environment, your experiences, and the other people that you interact with. So, what are your open centers? What can you see on your chart?
So the both in the head, the two
Okay.
triangles.
Yep. Your ajna and your head center. Yep.
Down here, maybe like the sacral, and then this little like liver triangle.
Okay, so your sacral, can you hold it up for me? Oh, well, I mean, that is a little, I don't know if you want to show your chart, but I mean, if you don't mind.
Is it personal?
No, as long as you don't show your birthday or anything. Okay, here we go. So you've got is this emotional or your spleen? So your spleen center is open, as well as it looks like your heart and your identity center is open as well. I can't quite tell. Yeah. And then your head as well. So your defined centers are where you're going to have an exact activation from you. It's going to be a consistent energy source from you. So what I like
Mm.
to look at is to be aware of is the open centers, because these are the places where I find that we get tripped up on things that aren't necessarily our own energetic inflow. So, for example, with your spleen center being open, this is a fear and survival center. So, if you are on a mission where you're like, I am taking 30 days to myself and I am surely focusing on the manifestation that I have in place, the goals that are on my to-do list for me and my energetic match, I would be advising to you to be mindful of what you're consuming when it comes to your social media and the things that you follow online, what you're having an inflow in about
Mm.
fears or contradictory energetics when it comes to what you're trying to pursue, because some of that inflow of information could make you fear of things that really aren't things that you were ever fearful of to begin with. Does that make sense? And then that
Yeah.
can throw you out of that alignment. And as far as your head center and your ajna center, not only are these centers open and susceptible, but they also bring in wisdom. So your head center and your inspiration center being so open, you're able to look at your environment, look at the things around you, and really pull in ideas and inspirations. And like you like observing women, like you're able to pull all of this in and sample it. As for someone who is more closed off, so you could pull in these ideas and inspiration and then check in with your own self to see, is this a yes for me? Is something I want to go through with? Or is this something that I'm just using for inspiration? So it can help you with that next step forward when the energy comes in, because ultimately, like you said, manifestation step by step can look very similar for every single person, but what someone's dealing with on a day-to-day
Yeah.
level in their energetics really do help us have that consistency of the tap flow. Because I know for me, it's not always up, 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 high vibe, consistent. Some days we dip into those lows, but the more that you know about yourself and your energetic awareness, the more that you're able to catch those dips and really either cleanse out something that needs to be cleansed, work through something that wasn't yours to begin with and let that go, or maybe something's flowing in for you to get greater wisdom on. But ultimately, where can you catch yourself along the way to realign back where you need to be?
Okay, I totally understood that. Now I see
Yeah.
how you use like the specifics in somebody's chart to get
Hmm.
them back into alignment, and then they can follow like the 1, 2, 3 manifestation. This stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a lot to consume at one time. So I find in the human design world, from what I've seen up to this point, is that it can be a lot of information to digest at one time, and it can feel like overwhelming. I don't know even know where to look first. I first like to look at the type, like what is your type? Projector, manifesting generator, generator, manifestor, reflector. And then let's go into your inner authority. Find out what's you're going to be your inner driving and speaking force. And then where are your open centers so that you can know how to clear yourself and work with stuff that may be giving you inconsistencies naturally.
Like, so the inner authority is mine is emotional solar plexus.
Yes.
So is that where I'm supposed to go? Like when I get excited about something, is that where I check in to?
Okay. So a manifesting generator and a generator both have the same sacral activation where it's defined, but it can either be a sacral authority or it can be an emotional authority. So since you have a defined emotional, and that's what's connected to your throat, correct? You see that line that runs to your throat from your emotional?
Yeah.
You have one of those?
Oh, wait.
That would typically be where that's going to come from.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Girl,
Well,
this might as well be like in another language.
okay, so with your emotional authority that you have here, you are someone who it's best for you to make decisions when you have emotional clarity. You're going to naturally experience very high peaks in your emotions and really
Yes.
low lows. But your greatest wisdom in that authority is using the highs for wisdom and using the lows so that when you do find a sense of calm and clarity, you're able to use both of those dualities to really give you a clear depiction, not making a decision at the high or making a decision at the low, finding that point of clarity. And that clarity can come immediately for you. Maybe it takes 2 days, maybe it takes 28, you know, but it's really valuable to you if you can wait until you really feel clear before you make a major decision. And it's not always can we wait for that emotional clarity, or maybe we question, do I even have clarity right now, you know, on this? The thing that I would do is check in and with that spleen center, are we doing something out of fear? Or are we doing something that someone else thinks is a good idea, but we don't know that it's a good idea? And that's where you have that sense of hold. So with emotional authorities, I suggest what you probably use is where you keep like a log of a journal, maybe like a brain dump that you would use for ideas that you can check back in with and see how it's making you feel,
I
or
do.
even just like a place to log what you're feeling.
And I feel when you were talking about like the open head centers, all of that is so true. I feel like literally like it's just an open funnel here. And
Which
I'm
is beautiful though.
constantly,
Like you're
yeah,
so connected, girl. So connected.
that's so funny. So I assume that you like got trained, right? You sound very,
I
very
am
knowledgeable.
self-trained sister with resources out the wazoo that I'm constantly cross-referencing and diving into. It
It's
is
that
my
Manny Jen energy. We're fucking
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. I mean, I would love to like dive into like, you know, actually let me back that up because sometimes we think we need all this like certification, but also there's so much power in your own investigative wisdom,
Let's
you
talk
know?
about this.
And how
Yes.
often do women hold themselves back because they don't have a certification or they don't have someone telling them you achieved the level of knowing, you know? Like if I waited on that for all, I would have never done anything, literally anything. Girl, I was dyeing my hair at 14 in the bathroom in my mama's house. So, and I did it professionally when I got older, but like you can't, you know?
Yeah, I fucking love that. I think I talk about being like a self-led woman, and that's
Mhm.
part of it. Like you go first, right?
Yeah,
And you
and that
get
also comes with I don't know all the things all the time. Like, and sometimes if I don't know something, I'll go, I don't know that. I'm gonna go look
yeah.
that up though and cross-reference, ask somebody, and find a common ground answer to where I can get back to you. And I think there's a sense of ease when you're like, if I don't know the answer, it's the power of the internet. I can find it.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
find it.
100%. I had a client yesterday that had a question and I was like, this has never come across my experience. And I was like, but I've got resources. Let me get back to you, and then take the necessary
Yep.
steps to do it. That's
Yep.
incredible. I'm like, I fucking love you.
I love you too. And I don't just
Oh,
say that, I mean it. I mean
thank you. And where do you live? Is it Georgia? Where are you from with your
yeah, so I
accent?
am right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, about 20 minutes outside of Atlanta.
Is that where you're from?
It is, it is.
Do you
I'm
love
sure I
it?
have such an accent. I don't ever hear it
A
if I'm
little
talking
bit.
to myself. I do. I've lived here my whole life. What's funny is I grew up in a house in the same neighborhood when I was a kid, and now I live here with my husband in the same neighborhood. So it's
With your
super
daughter
cool.
too, right?
Yeah.
I know. I wanted to touch on I don't know if it's for the podcast or not, but I love that you homeschool.
Yeah.
Remember, we
So
touched on that in the DMs.
we can touch a little. I mean, it was a choice that me and my husband made. It was wild. I am a believer in divine alignment, and there's always divine alignment happening all the time. Always, always, right? Like even today. So me and my family went to Disney World 2020 in the end of February. We came home from Disney and had this like we were just like, you know what, we're ready. We're just gonna start homeschooling. And literally a week later is when everything boop
Oh,
closed.
funny.
So it's just wild how that all happened. And we're still homeschooling. Yeah, it works really, really well for us.
Is your daughter like a little light? I bet she
She
is.
is, and that's what was super important to us is we like these years are super valuable when it comes to her building her own sense of herself. And not only do I want to make sure she's getting all the education that she needs and what she needs to be instructed on, but also where does she need that freedom? And I don't want her to feel closed off, restricted, go into the world of comparison as a kid. I just didn't want that for her. So until she like I can trust that her confidence is to a place where she can handle herself being exposed to all these different types of inflow. That's what is important to us.
Yeah. And as a hypnotherapist, so from birth to 8, those years, as
Mhm.
far as like the brainwave state that she's in and all of that, right? They don't have the analytical mind yet to like be able to discern certain things. So they're literally just taking everything in, right? And then they'll be in therapy later as an adult trying to sort that shit out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, right.
if you can be really like particular about, you know, having her home and what she's exposed to and what she's
Mhm.
taught and stuff, you're setting her up for such success on so many levels, like just to
And
be a
we're only
grounded human.
children for so
Yeah.
long, and I feel like at some point, life tries to rob you of your imagination, your play, your creativity, your you-ness, and it's just important that she knows that, like, that's so true for her, and there doesn't need to be anybody who tells her it's silly, right? Or that she's not the right way or something,
Yeah.
you know?
I celebrate that for you.
Well, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. I'm interested in how, okay, so were you dabbling in energetics or manifestation in any way before you came into human design?
Yeah. So I didn't have any clients at that point, but I was a big advocate for this is so powerful. This is showing up in my life. These are the things that I use. This is my morning journal routine that has helped me do X, Y, and Z. And it's like a common theme that runs through my whole home. Like me and my husband make joke about how quickly things just like happen for us, you know? But it was that piece that really led me into the coaching world because I was plugging myself into self development that was really aligning to growing your beliefs on an energetic level, manifestation practices that can help you fine tune yourself and how you envision things and really playing with that, like surrendering to the play. And so through all of that, which is where I found myself like, oh, well, gosh, I would love to do this like for work. Like I would love to be in this space. And that's how I came into it, is just taking the knowledge that I've learned up until this point of what's worked very well for me and being a continuous sponge for what's working for others and sampling out different methods and giving myself tons of room to just surrender and be totally blown away by the things that happen, you know?
Yeah. So tell me, honestly, I could listen to you talk. Like you're very captivating.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Um, you're welcome. Tell me when you get an idea of like you want something or you want to create something, like what is your practice to get yourself there? Like what does that look like? And then when you find yourself out of alignment, like what are your tools to get back into alignment?
Yeah, so I have a fun little practice that anybody can utilize at any scale of the size of the manifestation, whether it's for me, it was like my dream water bottle coming across my water cup, or if it's, a certain income level. I have a running magic to do list that when I want something in a material area or even an unmaterial area, in the esoteric realm, as I
Right.
have on my magical to do list. And this was a game changing flip for me because so much of my manifestation came from a push, push, push. What can I do? I do. And it's just natural for me. I couldn't quite wrap my head around the surrender. And what the to do list allowed me to do was say, this is a co creative list. This is a magical to do list. This is not just my to do list. It's me, the universe, my highest good, my highest self, and God working on this with me. So everything that I need as a priority of a desire or even a fulfillment of feeling, I'm putting on that list and allowing myself to look at that and cross things off that I find that just happen by chance, or the things that I work through and have done. A lot of like, okay, let's just say the podcast, for example. I had that on my dream board for a solid 9 months before I did a thing. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a perfect person and all the things that I write down just come to me so quickly. But I put it on my dream board and I had it in front of me. And for a while, I thought to myself, I don't know if that's me. I don't know if I'm there yet. And then you surrender to what it is that you truly, truly want. Like, do you actually want it? Or do you just want to put it on the dream board and think it's a cute picture? Right. And when you have that settled moment of like, no, 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 like this is what I truly want, I believe the biggest piece of that is the surrender. And then your inner spirit's going to prompt you with alignments that you need to take to
Yeah.
get there. I mean, don't you believe that as well? That you're going to be prompted in your life with options, with opportunities that are little bitty puzzle pieces that line up to the thing. It's just, are we willing to truly tune in? So if there's something that you're working on that maybe really hasn't stuck for you, I would come back and say, is it something you really, really want? Or is it something you just wanted to put on the magic list? Like, is it still lining up for you? Like, does it still feel as good as it did when you wrote it down? Or are you onto something else? Because if you are, that's okay too. But if it's something you still really, really desire to see within yourself and have in your physical reality, start listening and start looking and start surrendering to the universe and the higher energies that it's going to align for you. And when you surrender, whether it falls into your presence or you're stepping your way to it, which most of the time you're stepping your way to it, it just feels bigger, right? You're going to feel those promptings of what you must do as that next best thing. And then surrendering back is that it's going to be taken care of, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, like, this is what I desire. And if I desire it, I already know it to be mine. And a lot of the work that you do is that feeling work, which is so valuable. It's like, it's not the feeling of wanting her so badly. It's the feeling of, I am a perfect match for it. It's just a matter of time when it shows up, because if it's going to show up, great. And if it doesn't, there was something even better than I could have ever imagined that's going to come on the other side of that.
Your programming is on point. I'm listening to you talk, and I listen to people's words, and because it shows us what's going on at a subconscious level, right? The words that we use. Your fucking programming is, I'm so impressed with you. I'm just,
well, I appreciate
impressive.
That. Yeah. And but as you know as well, like, you're an impressive human. The way that you have a sense of command in your tone is chef's kiss. Chef's kiss of a command. But it's not every day we feel that way. You know, it's not every day that we're just like feeling like the compliments that we receive. Sometimes it can be challenging to actually be like, you know what, I am those things. Because some days we do feel out of our body, you know, but it's how quickly can we bounce back that I find really matters. And we do take a moment to be present and bounce back. It's like, I can give myself so much grace, because I went through that, because obviously there was something that needed some nurturing and needed some love. And what you complimented on, like the programming of my words, has come from engulfing myself in these energetics intentionally, because there's something about it that I literally, at this point, I cannot live without. Right. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. It still feels weird to be obsessed with self-development, but girl, I am.
Me too. That's why you're my human.
Obsessed.
No, I saw your picture because you made a comment, and I went to your page and I was like, she's my person. She's like my human. And that's why I was immediately like, come talk to me. I want to know you. Like, well, you're totally my human.
Grateful to be here. And like, it's a gift. And this is a first for me. Like, and I think we get scared of saying our first, like, and when we're in that first, this is my first time ever being a guest on someone's podcast space. Like, I've been a guest on things, but never in this field before. And this is a first for me.
I'm so honored that it's with me.
I'm so freaking excited, because this is just like, it's the first of the inevitable, you know. And the women that you work with, I mean, I think the work that you do at the niche that you do is so freaking powerful and so fascinatingly cool. And you know, it's like, there's a first of so many things. And a year ago when I started my podcast, I wouldn't have, like, if you would have told, my higher self could have like went back and been like, a year from now, you someone's podcast talking about your business. I'd be like, what do you mean? And what did I leave behind to get there? But like, when I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, like, it makes so much sense. And I'm so grateful for all of the nudges that I followed to get to here, you know?
Yeah. So when you write on your magic to-do list, like, so I have two tools that really help me. I have one in my business. I have a celebratory spreadsheet, and all wins, right? Big wins, small wins, I write down. So the way I have it is like my money is like stacking on top of each other here. And then I have down below, I have a list of all my celebratory moments that month. and they're all right next to each other. So I have this spreadsheet. I can just look at my year and I can just see like the idea of like stacking the cash, right? I'm growing in my wealth, but I'm also growing in depth and richness and success and joy, and right. So it's a very visual piece for me. And then I have on my phone, I have a receiving list. So like every day I am making notes of what I'm receiving, and that it's not monetary. I do track my money, but that's a separate thing. It is, I give a compliment today and the gentleman had the biggest smile on his face. And it was like, that was a moment of like deep receiving, right? Or like I'll put the sunshine down, or I'll put, right. So that helps me constantly stay in the receiving mode.
Absolutely.
Because it's always happening. It's just, right. We have to shift our focus.
Are you tapped to see it?
Yeah. So I have chosen deliberately to be focused on what I'm receiving, right? Even if it's simple as oxygen, or like it's always happening. We're always receiving, and that's the invitation for more.
It's mindful, and being mindful and present is the magic, because like you said, you if you wouldn't have been mindful to be like, I'm going to be so polite intentionally to this man, not like to be like to receive anything, but just to give that. It's like, it's surprising how beautiful things just unfold for themselves. One of my favorite sayings, I'm sure I got it from TikTok a while ago, because TikTok will teach you all kinds of things, is surprise and delight me today. Show me how good it can get.
I saw that on your page before, and I think I saw it on TikTok too.
Oh, let me just tell you, you start saying that, girl, it's gonna take things to a whole nother level.
Can you say that one more time?
Surprise and delight me today. Show me how good it can get.
And do you just repeat that throughout your day?
Oh, it's in the morning for sure. We're getting it in the morning for sure. And those are good little, like, show me how good it can get, are really good. It's a really good nudge too, when you're feeling that friction that I don't like to talk about it as like bad energy. It's just friction. You're feeling the friction. You're like, I need to surrender. I need to chill. And it's like, okay. All right. Show me how good it can get.
I love that.
It's like, all right, we're going to amp it up here. We're going to make some magic, right? You know?
Because you're telling your mind, you're giving it a command, and it will always, no matter what the command, negative or positive, it will always show up for you. Most people are unaware of the commands they're giving, and they tend to be destructive. When you say, show me how good it can get, your brain's like, let's go, I'll show you. And you're working. That's incredible. I like that.
It's like being open to just let things flow. And I think that's what this work has really taught me the most. And it's like, I'm in the teaching of it now. Like, as us as coaches and teachers, we don't ever stop learning the lessons, right? And a big thing that I started my podcast on the precedent that I want to share while I'm growing through it, because that's the most rich that it's going to get. And I started that precedent. Sometimes it kicks me in the butt, because then I have to like really hear it again after I've put something out, but pardon my dogs if you hear them. So what was I saying?
You wanted to show while you were growing on your podcast.
Oh, so yeah. So like when we feel those moments, it's like things are going to come up, and it's not the fact that we're just like the sense of perfection and we have these moments of goodness all the time, but it's those subtle nudges where you can really go, you know what? No, I'm going to surrender here and not be so pushy, and let my highest good show me really how good it can get. And when that happens, I'm telling you, when you feel that sense of love, it's life-changing.
Yeah. What does surrender look like and feel like? Because I was going to ask, when you write something on your magic to-do list, right? Let's say your water bottle that you got, like, so you put it on the magic to-do list, and then energetically and emotionally, what are you doing?
Okay, like, so this is what that water bottle situation looked like absolutely day to day. So I saw this water bottle in Target, and I was like, ooh, girl, you look so pretty. I want to take you home. But it just didn't feel
right. Do you talk to things like that? Because I do that too.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. But I knew that one day she would be mine. But it wasn't today. It just didn't resonate right. Like, when you could spend the money, but if you would have spent it, it just wouldn't have felt right. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep my eye out. So I go back to another store probably 2 weeks later, and I see her again somewhere else.
But like, hold on. So in the meantime, Was
She's
she like
sitting
out of
on the
thought?
list. She's sitting out of thought.
But emotionally and
She's
energetically, where are
mine.
you at?
She's mine.
Okay.
I know she's coming home, but
Okay.
today is not that day.
Okay. So you were in the
So
energy of she's here?
she's already mine. So this girl sat on the shelf at Target. She
Uh-huh.
has a sister that sits on the shelf at Kroger, and she's probably got some cousins there too. So she sat there, and I was like, that is the one. I know it is. It is mine. It is mine. It's just not mine today. She's going to sit here, but it's mine. No doubt about it. And I go on, she's on the list. I swear to you, I write one of these every week. She was on the list for 4 weeks. And it's like resiliency. I'm like, I'm not forgetting about my magic water bottle. I'm not forgetting about her. She's important, you know? And then it energetically aligned on its own. And I had the flux in my spending. I had the extra where it didn't feel anything heavy besides just a full heck yes. And my husband's like, you better go back and get that right now while we're here. I'm like, you are so right. And it was that moment though, that if I would have gotten it when I first saw it, and it was almost that sense of that force, it would not have been that fulfilling feeling of not only was I like, oh my gosh, this is such the yes that I needed, but then my husband got to be like, yeah, baby, this is love. This is good. Go, you know?
Yeah. I had this similar, I'd been on the lookout for a coat, like a very specific, like camel long wool coat,
Mm-hmm.
a year,
Yeah.
Okay. But it was very, very similar. Like I knew when I saw it that it would be, I knew she was out there, and I name things too. Everything's like a she or a he. Like I knew she was out there, and every place we would go that had clothing like that, I would always check, and it was
Right.
never her. But I felt this like connection. I was like, I'm going to see you. Right. And when I see you, I'm going to bring you home. And it
Yes.
was just a couple of days ago, I was in a store and I saw her and I put her on and I was like, I've been waiting for you. And it was like a done deal, but it was what I'm finding, and I'm sure you can relate, is like, this gets to be fun and almost like game-like, right? Do you feel like you're in kind of like a simulated game? And you got the playbook of like how to use your emotions and stuff. And now you're like, okay, now life gets to be really fucking fun.
But what's funny is when I first dove into this work is it felt like a game that I could never learn the skills to. I'm like, there's always more skills to learn. I don't have all the skills. And it's like when actually now it's like, oh no, I get to play. I get to really just like express it and let it be and let it come to me in ways that I don't even necessarily have to pre-plan it all. Some things I can be fully in with, and that's what it's meant to be. And some things aren't meant to be that way. And it's just supposed to be a matter of one thing after another and giving myself permission to play. And it's a beautiful thing of this. But I think the play goes back to the surrender. Like I really, really do, because so much of our adult minds are like, don't play, don't be imaginary, and any of that. And we kind of, it almost makes us feel silly by conditioning to play. And we think if we hold it tight enough, then it definitely will be ours. But really it's the being a little loose,
You mentioned personal power, and I feel like that was the switch that triggered for me. Like once you get into this work, you can go from victimhood of like life is happening to me, and it's only a lack of awareness and a lack of knowledge that one would have that. When you access, like when you get hold of, right, it doesn't have to be human, it could be the body. People have come to this work through many different avenues. Absolutely. But I feel like what it does do is activates personal power. And then you're like, 100%. Okay, I've got some say, right? You mentioned co-creation, and you realize you're in partnership. And then when you learn how to use your thought, energy, emotion, like the creative energies, right? Because it's like how we manifest and how we move. It's the non-physical. It's like, and then, but you have to like tune into a different world, right? It's not what you see. It's how you shift your thoughts. It's how you shift your emotions. It's where you put your thought energy on. Like those are things people can't see.
No, but you can feel.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, I can be around someone and I can be like, you can feel where their sense of like neediness is. And I've been there and I'm going to be there again for sure. Like it happens to all of us. But when we can detach it from being so needy and being like, no, I can kick back because if it's a want that I have, it's a worth of a want and there's nothing I need to explain or defend, and it's that sense of surrender. And just like you said with the personal power, is I found that there were so many ways that I was taking my power and thinking I had to charge up to other things to have the power activated, when really it's
Mm.
always inside of ourselves. We just forget that it's there, or we get used to others giving us power. And we're like, oh, it must come from other places. But then once you start playing with your own power and you realize how much wisdom, and I mean, I'm not just talking about power like strength, I'm talking power like clarity. Like when
Mm.
you know your clarity and your energetic attunement and your intuition is on point, like when everything feels inside of you as one unit and you're in sync, that is power. When you can trust your own like gut, your emotional authority, like whatever your inner being speaks to you, when you have that true attunement, it's everything that then overflows to everything.
Yeah. And I feel like we're almost like light bulbs turning on, and then we
Mhm.
activate the other light bulbs around us, and then they activate, right? And like we're flowing out into the
A
world.
bigger
But that,
circuit.
yeah. So the work that I do in hypnotherapy is like exactly that. Someone will come, and I like to tell people, I'm like, I close the gap, right? When people want to think like you're here and who you want to be is over here. And in your session with me, there's no gap.
Mm.
You are that person or that reality or that whatever, right? And it's simply it, right? You lay down, close your eyes, and you're just listening to my voice. I'm guiding you on an inner journey, but I am not doing anything. Like
Mhm.
they are the one that is having a real visceral experience inside, and
Yeah.
that's where a lot of activation can come from. And it reminds them how much power they have, right? And that remind, like, wait a minute, this reality isn't so far away because I just fucking tapped into it a minute ago, right?
Yeah.
And then I tell them, like, all I did was talk to you, right? It
Mhm.
was very specific and it was crafted intentionally and all that, but it was like, you did that. You
Mhm.
healed, you transformed, you talked to who you, right? You did that. And they're like, wow, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us don't want to believe that we really hold that much power. Maybe it's a
Totally.
sense of protection, or it's just a sense of like knowing that for so long we've always depended on others to like make us feel in a sense of way. But that is, like you said, it's the powerful piece that we don't have to give or get anything else. Like if you wanted to stop with all of your knowing right now in this moment, you could tune into the greatest wisdom that you have, and it's already inside of you. And sometimes the wisdom that isn't necessarily the funnest to hear, those little darker parts of us that come out, I find those are the greatest teachers for love as
Mm.
well. Like what's coming up that makes you need more love? Like where are you needing to be really seen? In the beginning of this work that I did, a lot of it for me looked like painting a new picture for myself and then not seeing the parts that came up that were dark, and heavy. And then it's like that didn't do me any good either. And I have found the greatest, like the term that's really loose now is like shadow work. But the greatest shadow work I've ever done was absolutely 100% involuntary. I didn't ask for it, but it taught me the greatest things that I needed for myself. And our wisdom will teach us what we need and when we need it. And that's not to say that every thought that we have is gold statement, lock it in, but it can be, it's something asking for something.
Yeah. And if we have this underlying belief, and it's part of the work that we do, is that everything is happening for us, right?
Mhm.
When you look at that, even your darkness or your shadow side from that perspective with those eyes, you're going to
Mhm.
respond differently because you have a core belief of this is happening for me, right? For my
Right.
benefit, versus if you have a core belief of something else, same issue, same shadow, but it's going to be processed really differently and integrated really differently. So our core beliefs have a lot to do like with how we view and process and heal.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I have found the mentors and the teachers that I learn from and study from, they talk a lot about like duality, right? And when I first got into this, when I had like my first awakening and stuff, it was like just love and light, right? That's how I'm such a go-getter, right? And you are too. Like it's 0 to 1,000%. Like I have no half-ass. No, we're like a jump in the pool and learn how to swim like while we're in the water type gal. So I went to like this extreme, and then it was like back to the shadow work. Like you got to integrate this and all that. And like now I'm at this beautiful point, and tell me if you can like relate to it, where it's like it gets to be both, and they both get to exist. And
Okay.
I am both.
So I wrote a post about this just the other day. It's like, if I took the parts of me that were so dark and thought of them as like toxic poison, never to be seen, never to be nothing, like I don't want, like I've done that and that didn't serve me well at all. Instead, I look at them as like little versions of me, and it's like, maybe that sounds crazy, but maybe
No.
it's little versions of me that I'm like, hey, I'm gonna hold you by the hand, and guess what? We're gonna all go together. You don't have to wonder if you're going to be like accepted, or if like none of that. Like we're all going to come along and grow together, and it's okay that you're still feeling this way, but look, I still see you, and you're invited along for the ride. And I'm not going to leave that piece of me behind, because she's not going to stay back there. Like she's going to come back. That's us talking about the things like the quantum leap that failed, is because they come back and they're pissed because you left them unseen.
Totally.
You're
I
like,
have a
you didn't
16-year-old
want to see
daughter.
me then? Well, I guess I wasn't loud enough. You're gonna see me now.
I told her the way because I'm very visual. The way I taught her was like, it was like amputating parts of your body, right? Because some people, I think it's easier for you and I to conceptualize the ideas of like the unseen.
Yep.
Whereas other people, it's a little bit harder. So I always try to give like a physical, but like where they can relate. And I was like, so if your whole body makes up like your emotions and different parts of yourselves, I was like, would you be fine just like cutting off some fingers or an arm, right? Because you didn't like that part of yourself. I was like, so when you do that internally, well, I don't like that I'm greedy or, bitchy or mean or whatever, right? Those are my shadow aspects. And it was like, you're basically amputating a part of yourself by ignoring them, that they don't exist. I was like, it doesn't work, right? But when you bring that in and accept it, I am a bitch sometimes, or I can be greedy, or whatever. I was like, you're a human having an experience. And I've taught her these things, but it was like, yeah, that's what we're doing internally. When we try to cut off or ignore these parts of ourselves, it's literally like you're trying to amputate a part of you, and then you're walking around less whole.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can invite that in, find some acceptance, not in every moment, but yeah, I can access all of these unfavorable parts, but it's a part of who I am.
And they all serve a purpose at a time.
Yes.
Like there are parts of me that, they come up, and sometimes they're a little bitchy. Sometimes she's like rough on the boundaries a little bit. Sometimes she's a little like, give me what I want and give it to me now. But there's also some parts of that where that's needed, not in the boastful sense, but the sense of command that I adapted somewhere along my life, that's gonna show up, and it's gonna be needed whenever it's needed. I think all of the parts of us are needed in some way, shape, and form, and they shouldn't be dismissed. But I think the tricky part is, like you said, is no, it doesn't work for long. But I think that sense of like forgetting about it, putting it as we've all heard the out of sight, out of mind, and it does work for a little bit, like maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. And then you slip and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I shake these parts of me? It's because you're not meant to shake them.
Yeah. You bring them into the fold.
Heal them, accept them, love them, and grow with them.
Have you found, because I do that too, I personalize everything. So all my past memories, they're all like little versions of me, right? I go back to the memory, and then I'll do whatever I need to do, because the memory just exists right within us. So I access the memory. I go be with myself as my like adult form. I basically am like the director of the play, right? I change things around to where it be like whatever I needed in that moment. Sometimes I don't change anything, and I just be with myself. Right? A hug or a cry or whatever's needed. And then as a result of that healing, right? I heal in this moment and I actually change my personality because she's been expressing herself through me in different ways. But when you go back and heal these different timelines, these different memories, I actually change in this moment as a result of that healing.
Absolutely. It's like deep rooted rewiring. It's like,
yeah,
you're not just picking the weeds off the surface. You're going in there to the roots and the beds and yanking it out and putting a new pretty flower there. It's a rewiring of intention. It's intentionality. Is that the correct word? Intentionality. It's intentional. And that is not the easy work to do, though, in the moment when you're feeling it. I mean, we could all get out a piece of paper and we could prompt these questions of like, what makes you feel judged and what's hard on you? But if you can revisit those questions when you're feeling judged, when you're feeling limited, when you're feeling restricted, and really get the rawness right there, that's where the magic is. That's where the true like healing is. It's not always prompted right when you try to. Sometimes it comes up and you're like, I've got to do this work now. You know, do you ever have those moments where you're like, this is sticky, but now I know better and I got to do this work now.
Yeah. And I'm very practiced at it. So it's almost like second nature at this point because I put in the time, I put in the effort, I put in the work. So it's like, I know immediately what to do, you know, and I can rearrange stuff real quick in my head versus like before I might have to like lie down, right? 20, 30 minutes and it's a whole thing. And like, then I get up versus now I can just
still
real
lying
quick.
down. I'm still lying down.
Yeah. Well, with practice, right? You'll be able to
but
just
it's not a week
and,
anymore. It's not a week.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I just like, it's so nice to like tell somebody who like gets it. Like when I was like, yeah, I just kind of changed memory and all like, and somebody like their eyes just glaze over. They're like, what? You know?
No, like I play like we play.
Yeah.
This is me. I can do what I want, you know?
Yeah. And then I'll jump into the future and I'll create some of those memories. Right. So it's like, I have like, I'm all over the place because it's like playing in that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Something fun that you can look into is I'm just going to go back on a human design little nugget for a second, is look into your environment for your human design. So it may not show it on that chart. I can always pull it up for you. But there's kitchen, outdoor, caves, caverns, markets. There's all different types of environments in human design as well. And your
I've never heard
environment
that.
is like your sense of comfort and where you almost like feel the most alive. So for me, my environment is a cave. And by that, it's the sense of like being only one way out. And you can see the entrance, you can see the exit. You're almost closed in and out around you, and you just have this big opening out. And like me in my bedroom right now, it's like you can create the environments that are most pleasing to your energetic theme. So like I'm sure you have a favorite place in your home to read a book, or when you start cooking, like you have the things that you like to use to mix up your ingredients. I have found places in my home that represent that theme of an environment for me that really makes me feel the most comforted, helps me get grounded, helps me find clarity, and I feel the most creative in these spaces as well. So like right here, I have my favorite window in the house. I'm in the corner of my bedroom. I sit here most of the time and I just have this outward look of things, but back here is all closed off behind me. My porch is the same way. It's closed behind me, but I have this big open view, but it's still very secluded. So finding your comfy place, your happy place, also is going to help you align right back to what you need and that clarity and that centeredness, which I'm sure you find. It's like you have a place you can put yourself in your mind, but if there was a physical place you could take yourself to for comfort, I know you probably know what it is.
You mentioned markets, and farmers markets are like my favorite place on the planet. I'm wondering if when I find that information,
but people who are market people, like to sit and just be like observers of the crowd and listening to the room. You don't like it to be too, like, you like noises, but not so closed in and restricted. You like a place for the noise to travel.
Yeah.
But also you want to kind of observe and sample all the conversations that are going along around you. It helps you find your clarity. It helps you find maybe a little creative spark, just listening and observing others.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if that's what it is. You do readings, right? So I can book a reading with you?
I sure do. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
I would love that. All right, love, before we wrap up, tell us what you have on your offerings. How can people get into your world?
Well, yeah. So I have a link in my Instagram bio, and I'm offering right now, I'm fine tuning the Power of You workbook. It's getting an upgrade right now. You can purchase it now, but it is getting an upgrade. So if you click on the link in my bio, the very first link says, how can I support you? And I've got 4 different options there. You can get a 4-week mentorship container. I also have a human design reading. I have a 40-minute quick call for coaching, and then I'm fine tuning the Power of You guidebook. So where it can really be a self-paced activity, and that's going to come out September the 22nd is my goal for myself. So very, very shortly in this workbook, will guide you through shadow and light work with yourself, also your human design that you can integrate into that, and then also doing the integration pieces where you're taking your identity work, your light and shadow work, your human design that you're learning about yourself, and put it into practical aspects. So that will be posted probably by the time this is up. Yeah. So you can click the link in my bio, and also if there's any questions, you can reach out to me in the DMs as well.
Okay, I'm gonna book a human design reading. So I'll be doing that. And then gosh, I had one more question. Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you about your business. So how you navigate being like an entrepreneur, and do you use like your understanding of your human design to like lead you in, right? Because we have freedom of choice, right, in a business that we create. Like, are you letting that inform what you offer, how you show up?
Absolutely.
Like how, okay, you want to?
Absolutely. So here's an example. So as a manifesting generator, I have the sacral activity, but I have the throat activation as well. But with the manifesting generator, sometimes we can start things, and once we get going on a little bit, we can feel like, hey, I don't want to do all that. And giving myself the permission to say, hey, I've sampled out this idea for my work, and I don't really feel aligned to this anymore. And kind of giving myself that permission of space to back off from it, but also I find I work best with my one-on-one connection. So when you fill out my forms and my links, most all of my links are going to be forms, because I want to get to know you. I want to get to know the client, what they need, and then get to them in a conversation context. And I'm sure I'm going to move forward where I'll have a quick link where someone can just bing, bada boom, purchase. But right now in this season, I find that I thrive with that conversation connection. It makes an impact for me, and I see it. So for me, I use my human design to sample out what activities that I'm going to be using for my business. Once I've started doing those and testing them out, I will know if it's a heck yes, and I will know if it's no. And I follow those yeses as they come to me and put those out. And then working with those one-on-one connections, using my voice, because that is a big piece as well with a manifesting generator. And then going back into, I do want to touch on one little thing, because there's something in the human design that you said you were a little bit unfamiliar with that I want to touch on that I think is important, the profile. So the 2 numbers that you see at the top of the page,
Yeah,
that is your, like, kind of like your life's theme, how you see your life's theme, and how other people kind of see your life's theme. So for example,
5-1.
5-1. So you're a heretic investigator. Yes. So for example, a heretic is someone who people come to for wisdom. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. I've got my, see, I have resources on hand, because I'm not perfect, and just in case I said something wrong. See, no worries, guys. You don't have to have all the answers in your brain all the
I
time.
love authenticity and transparency and integrity. Like, I'm just here for it.
Yeah, like, let me not say the wrong thing, because my mouth can get going sometimes. And let me just digress. Okay, so pause for dramatic effect. Investigator. Aha. Yes, I was correct.
Hey.
Correct. Look at that. See? Okay, you're investigator heretic. So what's fun about the heretic, and I also have this in my chart as well, is the heretic is known for people coming to them for wisdom, greater ways of looking at things, finding that silver lining. And the reason people come to us for that is because we have sampled so many things throughout our lifespan that have given us wisdom in so many different areas. And along all those different things that we've tried and experienced, we can find the silver lining that it was never a mistake. It was always meant to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's a special note that the heretics theme has. So that's why you can give yourself that permission that if you've done lots of things in your life up until this point, or you're interested in multiple different things, that's okay. It's a part of your signature theme because that's where you're going to be able to bring so much wisdom to the collective. Just like a lot of the stories that you tell, that you sell, you know, you're going to find that people can relate to you in a story, in a situation that probably isn't fine-tuned exactly to necessarily what you're selling, but you can share it in a way of a previous experience or something that comes up in a similar form, but it's not actually that. Like, does that make sense? Like you can share from a previous experience that's not quite related to this, but it has that sense of where they intertwine. And that is like the message of life that you carry, is that people can come to you for that greater wisdom, that silver lining that, hey, you went through this, you went through that, no worries. Let's find the goodness and the richness in all there is that you're present with. In the investigator, beautiful open head center that you have, you're going to sample out all kinds of knowledge and wisdom.
I do.
And investigate everything to the fine-tooth detail because you want to know all the things. And then more. You're like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. There's got to be more. And that's a beautiful gift that, like, you shouldn't stop digging. Like, keep digging, you know?
Yeah, that's like dead on. And then I even have on my TikTok, I was like, I study, and I wrote like the things I study. Like I don't, right? I know a lot of, like, I am a studier.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you could
do you mind if I say something about your profile? No, you don't mind? Okay, so sometimes the shadow side of that 5 and that 1, that investigator going with the heretic, is that, oh my gosh, I must know some more. I need to know some more. I need to know some more. And your heretic's like, but no, baby, you got it. It's all enough. It's all enough. Look, we've got plenty. It's okay. You're like, but no, I got to know more. And you can give yourself that permission slip to learn along the way, is that the investigating is never going to end. It's always going to be a continuous thing for you.
I live that out. That's 100% true. I would like before I was like in business, I created all this and I like shared all for free because I was like, I have to know more before I charge. Right. And I did that for a couple of years. And then like there was a point I was like, okay, if I'm gonna fucking have a business, I need to actually have a business, right? But it was like that switch had to turn on, that like, yeah, the learning never ends. I have enough I can share at this point, knowing that I will always grow and learn. And that's when I like jumped in full force. But yeah, it's 100% true. I actually like did that.
And that may be the energetic theme for your life, but that's still wisdom that you send out. So even though that's not a theme for someone else's life that they live in on a daily, right? That's still a gift that you give.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Madelynne, this was like the perfect ending for my Friday. I'm so thankful for you.
I'm so thankful too. I'm thankful for grace. I'm thankful that, you know, you were honest about the things that you needed today. Like, I'm glad we could meet at a happy, graceful point where you got to have some ease too.
Thank you so much for being on, honey. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you.